I just want to teach this morning. Here in Mark chapter 8, we find Jesus and his disciples in a boat headed to Bethsaida. The disciples soon realize that they don't have enough bread, that they only have one loaf. And while they are worried about the rations, Jesus says to them, take heed, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the leaven of Herod. And they completely miss it. In 14, we have a problem. We don't have enough bread. In verse 15, Bible study starts. And in verse 16, they completely miss it. Because they reason amongst themselves saying, is it because we have no bread? That's how it normally is whenever the Bible study starts. That's when we mentally check out. We did our little parts. I clapped my hands. I sang along with the choir. I put my $2 in the collection plate. I've done my part. Pastor, come on and say what you're going to say so we can get to the amen so I can go catch the football game that's already started. So we check out mentally whenever it gets time for the Bible lesson. But somebody asks, where did the Bible lesson begin? I'm glad you asked. Because if we look at verse 15, leaven was a substance used to produce fermentation in dough. In Bible times, leaven was normally a piece of dough that was left over from previous cooking. And it has fermented. So they would take some of that fermented dough, mix it with some new dough so that the bread would rise. Nowadays, y'all have yeast. But then they use leaven. And in this passage of scripture, it represents evil or moral influence. So Jesus is saying to his disciples, he's saying, don't allow the Pharisees or Herod's selfishness or pride, they love of positions, they love of power, or they misunderstanding of the word to get into you and cause you to rise up with the wrong kind of thinking. Ooh, Jesus was bad with that thing. Just as a small amount of leaven was enough to cause new dough to rise, just a little bit of evil would be enough to cause it to rise up in you and cause you to turn from what you already know. Boy, Jesus was working that thing. All it takes is a little bit. Just that one lie. Just that one misdeed. Because evil will always take you further than you intended to go. See, in verse 11, the Pharisees was harassing Jesus because they wanted him to show them a sign so he could prove who he was. They had already denounced Jesus' miracles as just pure luck. So now they are demanding a sign from heaven, a sign that only can come from God. Give us a sign so you can prove that you are who you say you are. But Jesus, knowing that even if he was to do the miracle, give them that sign, that it still would not be enough to make them believe. So him and his disciples hurry up and get back on the boat and go somewhere else. But in their hurry, they forgot to go get groceries. And now they're on the ship And they're complaining and worried because they don't have but one loaf of bread. And when Jesus tries to have Bible study, because they are so focused on the problem, they completely miss the lesson when it was given. Sound familiar, don't it? Amen. When we come to Bible study in Sunday school or worship service, we are so focused on the stuff that is going on in our lives that when the word is going forth, the word that might be needed, you might not need it today, but you might need it on Monday. You might not need it on Monday, but you might need it on Tuesday. It could be Wednesday morning that joker gonna rear his ugly head, and you might need it on Wednesday, but because you were so distracted, so concentrated on your problems, that you missed the Bible study lesson when it went forth. And Jesus is saying, after the lesson went forth, y'all still don't understand. But let me put it, let me put it in a way so we can understand. When he said, having eyes, you see not, ears and hear not. Yeah. This is what Jesus is saying. He's saying, y'all been sitting around worried about some bread. Y'all are so caught up in something as small as some bread. Y'all been with me this whole time. Going around with me this whole time. Don't you got eyes? Well, why can't you see? Don't you have ears? Why can't you hear? What's wrong with you? You stupid or something? Are you slow? Is it just not coming to you? I'm trying to understand what's going on, because see, Jesus could have said, this is what he could have said, didn't I hear Peter's mother-in-law when she had a fever? Weren't you there when I healed a man that was lowered through a rooftop by his friends? Weren't you there when I healed him? There was a storm that had rose up, and I was trying to go to sleep on a pillow, but y'all came and woke me up because you was afraid that something bad was about to happen. Didn't I get up out of my sleep, come on the deck of the boat, spoke to the storm, told the storm to peace, be still? Wasn't y'all there when I did that? Wasn't y'all there that time when we got off the boat and we hadn't made it no further than the beach, and there was this man in this town that they couldn't bind with chains nor ropes? He was in the graveyard cutting himself with stones, and he came running out. Wasn't y'all witnesses of me casting out those demons? Or what about that time I went down to Jairus' house after his daughter had died, and I went in the room and I told that child to get up? Did she not get up? How about that time I cast out that demon in that little girl in Tyree? Wasn't y'all there? All of this stuff Jesus could have said. Am I not still God? But how soon we forget. As soon as God brings us through one storm, we're all happy. Praise the Lord for what he has done for me. But as soon as another storm comes, we forget what God did the last time. And we get worried because we see some new trouble. And all Jesus is saying, all of this stuff that y'all was witnesses of, am I not still God? That same trouble I brought you out of last time, I can bring you out of this time. I'm still God enough to bring you through your troubles. Now we got to look at why we get worried, though. Because, see, sometimes our troubles are inflicted. Now, if I take my bill money and I get on 49 and go south, and I get on Highway 90 and I go left or right and go to any one of those buildings that's got all those flashing lights, that's making all of those ding, 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 ding noises, and I lose my light bill money, and come next week I'm sitting in the dark, that ain't nobody's fault but mine. Because God already made the way when he allowed me to get the money in the first place. But I misused my blessing. And because I misused my blessing, that's why when the storm comes this time, I'm worried and I'm afraid because I don't know if God's going to show up for me because he already showed up. And I misused what he gave me. So now that I got it and I lost it, I don't know if God's going to do it for me a second time. But because he loves us so, because he loves us so, he's God enough to show up even when you don't have sense enough to do right with what he already gave you. He said, I'll open up the window. All we can stand is that little crack in the window from heaven. And even from that little crack in that window, he said, you still won't have room enough to receive it. Some of us are praying for doors to be open. If you open the door, you couldn't stand it because you can't even do right by the crack. You misused the crack in the window. So why are you going to open a door for you when you don't even know how to manage the crack? My Lord. But that was a good place to shout right there. I'm wide open now. But just like the disciples, y'all watch this. When I first read this, just like the disciples, I missed this too. Look at what Jesus was really saying. Now, he said, when I break 5 loaves. Now, he didn't mention the fish. Y'all remember when he fed the 5,000 men, not counting women and children. He didn't mention the fish. But let me mention the fish so I can bring all this stuff together. He took 2 fish. The number 2 conveys the meaning of a union or the verification of facts by witnesses. Then he said, I took 5 loaves and I fed 5,000. Well, the number 5 symbolizes God's grace. So now we got witnesses and we got God's grace. Then he went on to say, how many baskets was taken up? And they responded 12. Well, the number 12 symbolizes God's power and authority. So now we got witnesses, God's grace, and God's power. And in verse 20, he says the number 7. And we all know the number 7 stands for completion or perfect. So now we got witnesses, we got God's grace, we have God's power, and now we have perfection. And then watch what he said. Right at the beginning of this chapter, he said, and then among the 4,000. Well, the number 4 derives from creation. On the 4th day of creation week, God created the material universe. And on this day, he brought into existence our sun, the stars, and the moon. And their purpose was not only to give off light, but to become the thing that would separate night from day. Thus beginning a basic demarcation of time, which made a type of signal that would mark off the days and years and the seasons. So now we got witnesses, we got God's grace, we got God's power, then we got perfection. The Hebrew word for season, modim, literally means, or mod, literally means appointed time. So what are you talking about, preacher? All Jesus is saying is, y'all witness God's power, complete and perfect grace at the appointed time. That's all that's all Jesus is saying. Y'all were witnesses of God's grace and his perfect power at the appointed time, and y'all got the nerve to sit up here and worry about some bread. See, this is why Jesus couldn't understand it. Because what would happen if you take bread and put it into the hands of the bread of life? He'll multiply. He took 5 loaves and fed 5,000, not including the women and the children. Then also he took 7 and fed 4,000. Y'all are worried about 1 loaf among these few. When y'all have seen me with God's power take a little bit and make it a lot. Not only was there enough to feed the 5,000, but y'all took up extra. See, that's that overflow that he'll pull you out the window. That we don't have room enough to receive. Now watch this. All the disciples did was, when Jesus fed the 5,000, not counting the women and the children, they were just obedient enough to do the work and pass it out. Now, because of your obedience, I know y'all are hungry too. All they did was have enough to get full, and that was it. But these 12 baskets that y'all took up, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 12 of y'all keep the basket. Look at God. That's shouting stuff right there. All you got to do is just do what God told you to do with what he gave you, and he'll supply the increase that you will have more than what you put out. Now, I'm wide open right now. We almost about to bring this thing to a close. But because they was focused on the problem, they missed the lesson. And because they missed the lesson, they almost missed the increase. But because Jesus loves us so much, he doubled back to make sure they understood. Because when somebody tell you, hey, you got ears, don't you? Listen to what I'm saying. That'll make you pay attention. So Jesus got their attention so they wouldn't miss the lesson. And some of us still, you've been in church 40 years and you still, somebody been coming to church every Sunday and you come up to Bible study every Wednesday night and you want to go hug the preacher when he finished talking, and you want to talk about you love somebody, and you want to go on your job and act holy, and somebody want to be in the store and act like you got it all together, and you still missing it because you distracted, concentrated on your little problem. When all you got to do is put it in the hands of the man that can multiply it, and that little stuff that you worried about wouldn't even be a problem in the first place if you knew how to give it to him in the second place, and then praise him in the third place, and watch him supply the increase in the fourth place, and now you got enough in the fifth place to share with all of those that's around you. But see, we too caught up. Them beans gonna be done by the time I make it home. Pastor knows this. Man, we in the last round, man. We almost to the Super Bowl. The game already started. Y'all know who I'm rooting for. But we are so concentrated and so worried about unnecessary stuff. And the whole time the lesson is being taught, the very thing you worried about is teaching you the lesson. And all you have to do is concentrate on him. Not what Sister So-and-so got on. Not who she was talking to between Sunday school and worship service. It don't matter what he was or what she was doing. You get you right. You concentrate on getting yourself together. And all you got to do is put it in the hands of the one that can change your situation. And when you put it in his hands and you leave it in his hands, don't try to keep something. Don't try to take none of it back with you. Put it in the hands of him that can change your situation. Don't forget what he did last time. Because we're here right now because of God's grace. And just like he provided grace for you yesterday, he was graceful enough today. He had enough grace for you today, just like he did last week. That surgery that you had all those years ago, who brought you out of it? Just like he brought you out of that surgery, you think God worried about your light bill when he said, I am the light? You think God worried about you ain't got no food on your table when he said, I'm the bread of life? You think God worried about you not being able to see where you go when he said, I'm the lamp unto your feet? God is not worried about you not having nothing to say, because he'll give you the word that you can say. All we have to do is give it to him. But we're too focused on what's going on around us. And the thing that we need to be focused on is the word. Because the only way we're going to make it is if we have the word. Am I not still God? It doesn't matter what your problem is. It doesn't matter who said it, who did it to you. We covered this in Sunday school this morning. The foundation was already laid. But if you put it in his hands, Jesus sitting there looking at some of us right now, shaking his head. All I've done for you, and yet you still full of worry and doubt. If you have faith and doubt not, you can move mountains. Just a little bit of mustard seed faith can move that mountain out of your way. But that little mustard seed doubt can put a mountain in your path. So which side are you on? Are you going to believe him at his word? Because has he ever fell short of his word? So don't doubt him. Don't worry about how he's going to work it out. Don't worry about how he's going to fix it. If you're doing what you're supposed to do, if you're being obedient to his word, just know he's going to do it. He might not do it when you want him to do it. He might not fix it how you want him to fix it. But because you put it in his hand, he's going to work it out for your good. So stop worrying about this little stuff. You can't do nothing about it. So why put yourself in the early grade worrying about something you can't change? Jesus is saying, am I not still God? So trust him to do what he said he was going to do. Put it in his hand. And watch him multiply. See, the reason some of us broke because we won't give. The reason you ain't never got no money because you won't give. Jesus said, the Bible said, give him your first. Not, I'm going to take out my light bill. I'm going to take out my rent. My car no due. I'm going to go ahead and take some of that out. And now all I got is $10. Well, I'm going to get that. Well, now you ain't got nothing. So nothing from nothing. You got to have something in order for him to bless. The reason he wants your first fruit, because if you give him what's first, now you got some stuff left for him to increase. But if you don't give him your first and you give him the last, your increase from 0 is still 0. Can I get a witness? Give it to him first. And watch, he supply the increase. The doors of the church open. There may be one.